Self-destruct initiated.
Welcome to episode 33 of Boxcars. I am Marcin and I'm playing minions.
I'm Rafał and I'm playing Crix, and I'm proud of it.
I'm Tomasz and I play Circle Ouroboros.
And he's also proud of it.
Yeah.
Today
Tell me,
we
Marcin.
will be talking about tournament preparation, just so we say in general. And Rafał is gluing his slayers, so you hear background noise whenever he drops something.
Because I have very good earphones. They have
You
very
have
good
very good
microphone.
motor, and you have very low motor skills, so you're dropping stuff constantly.
That's true. I'm old, so this is normal.
Yeah, so I have a double, so to say, problem today, because first you're dropping stuff and it's making me irritated, and I am on a low carb diet, and my wife, to support me, made 2 pizzas tonight for dinner, and I didn't eat anything, but it smells with pizza all over here. So I'm in such a good mood for podcasting tonight.
Gotta love your wife.
Yeah, of course.
So
Right.
we are talking about tournament preparation, right?
Yeah.
So what do you
So
do
just-
when you are going to the tournament?
I
Just one thing before we start. So next Masters is in Poznań, 29 April. Of course, I mean in Poland. And if you want to search tournaments in your vicinity or in Europe in general, we have created a nice map of tournaments on WM&H webpage. You have to go to links in the right top corner and find the events link. And
you have to use the menu. There are
yeah.
4 lines or I don't know some things.
Yeah,
You have to use it to get to the.
to get to the map. So,
Yeah.
but it's a very useful tool, and if you want to search next event, you can click there and find it.
I
feel
do.
like
I do. Hmm?
yeah, I
Okay.
feel like every time we advertise another tournament or event, it's already the spots are closed, right?
Not in this
Yeah, because
case. I think there are still some places there.
Like
Not anymore for a long time.
Well,
No.
no more places there. What?
No.
What do you mean?
The funny thing is that we are just advertising because we have to, because Marcin told us to do so, but we don't want anybody to come, so the places are full already. I mean, they are not empty places. But yeah, we are full, so sorry
Poznań
for
is
that. Yes, Poznań is full. I have extended the amount of places for 2 colleagues from Szczecin, Marcin, by the way.
Okay, it's 40 places only. Okay, so
Yeah, because we don't have this one is small, but the one that we'll be doing in autumn, like December, like October or November, will be big and convention style because I have found the hotel for that. Okay,
Oh,
Is it
cool.
will be
WTC?
it's not WTC because WTC is in Warsaw, sir.
All right.
So it's not WTC. No. We are doing the thing in Poznań at the end of the year. But you have still spots, Marcin, and you should advertise your own tournament, okay? And stop advertising mine, okay? Thank you.
Well, you might have people quitting, so then you will have places.
People never quit on me.
So Szczecin tournament is happening on June, so you still have a lot of time to sign up, and we've got like 4 places left, so also not too many.
Amazing. The game that nobody plays and everybody is complaining about. It always amazes me so fucking much.
Yeah, the complainers are staying at home and nobody cares about them. Nobody who plays. So
Yeah, Marcin and his hornet's nest. you really like to shake up the tree.
I sometimes like to poke something, like poke a
Good
bear
to
or
them.
something. And so
Yeah.
it would be boring if you didn't do that from time to time. All right, let's
Yeah.
get back on the topic because we are.
I wanted to evaluate this, but okay, I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah, we are turning now slowly into podcasts that don't talk about War Machine, although they are allegedly about War Machine. So,
But we are doing the battle reports. We don't have the battle reports in the name, but we are talking about battle reports all the time.
yeah, we are making up for Chain Attack.
Yeah.
All right, because we play the game, so that's why. All right,
Yeah.
so when I plan to go to the tournament, depending on what kind it is, I will do a kind of meta-analysis first. If it's a big tournament, then probably I will pay more attention to that. At least what factions are dominant, how many factions is in each is registered, etc. If it is a small tournament, then like local, then I probably will know who will show up and with what without actually looking or preparing. That's like kind of your own meta mostly.
Yeah. I have only one thing in common before every tournament. I have to drive with the car to that.
Yeah.
You too. Sometimes you prepare, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. But generally, if you want to be well prepared, you should do, in my opinion, do some kind of meta-analysis. And amount of work you want to put in will depend on what you want to achieve, actually.
Tomasz, what do you want to achieve?
I don't
Global
know.
dominance?
Yeah.
Like Pinky and the Brain? I have today a comic relief mood, okay? So sorry for
Okay.
this. I don't know. I have to go tomorrow on the business trip to Warsaw. That's why I'm just, and I won't be playing War Machine. So, but you have to prepare, right? And you have to analyze the meta. This is I think, the most important part.
So how do you go about it?
Well, let's say it's because it will depend, right? If it's a tournament with list log or with lists published or with info about factions played, then you actually have a view into what is going to be prevalent.
Yeah, is there any tournament that you know what factions are going to be there? Like usually it's everyone sign up and after some time they show the lists or the faction being played, but very rarely I see factions before the lists are released to the public.
Yeah, actually in Poland if you go to a Polish tournament, we use this Tourney Keeper online application, so you can. There is always info about who is playing what.
Yeah, and our usual
casters are
yeah, but they are not only true, right? So people put
true.
Whatever.
That is correct. Not everybody is putting true,
but usually the faction setup is correct.
Yeah,
only the casters
they
are
put
being
the faction exactly. So the casters you probably cannot depend on, but the factions you can, and the casters you should probably figure yourself out because if you play in a so. The way I do it, I look at the tournament, I look what factions are there, and so I make myself a list. So like it's 7 Kriegs, it's 5 Grimkin, it's 6 Circle. So I know I'm in Poland. With Kriegs, it's everywhere else as well. But if there is a lot of Circle, you should probably think you are on Polish Masters tournament. So you should probably have answers to those 3 factions because there is a high chance you will meet any of them.
Yeah.
So that's just you make a general plan that, let's say, 3 or 4, maybe sometimes 5 factions are dominant, so you should be prepared to face them more than you are prepared for a different one. Like some time ago, probably not anymore, but it used to be that Norway, Sweden, and UK, they had a lot of signal presence. So going there, you should be aware that there will be a lot of signal. In Germany, it was Scorn, and I think it still is.
Yeah.
So, and for example, if you go to a if you go to a convention, you probably can spend day one going around and looking what's there, like get a feel. What the field is looking like, what the top players are playing, and then it's not as easy as having a list prepared, because you cannot be actually sure on which tournament each player is playing, but it gives you some kind of overview. Like.
But do you think that?
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Hello. Do we have some technical problems with the internet or not?
Marcin,
No.
your USB connection is fucked up.
Okay.
Again?
Yeah, you should replug your microphone like the last time, and it will probably cut the recording for you.
Yeah, that's a problem.
What do we do?
Yeah, we can.
But I always wonder when we are going, for example, for ClockCon. Tomasz, this is the one tournament that you should go to.
Where is it?
Netherlands, in Amsterdam. But don't worry, you won't be sightseeing anything. You will play like 22 games in 3 days, and this is the whole sightseeing that you will. So you will see a lot of people from the planes and hotel stuff, and that's all that you will see. Right? But
Yeah, but
it's really
where
good
is it?
tournament. Amsterdam. Sir,
Near Amsterdam. I think it's close to Amsterdam airport. All right. Where were we? So meta-analysis, I think, is a basic step. So you know what you are preparing against, and probably, for example, if you are going to a tournament and you know, for example, a top contender is playing, I don't know, mercenaries, and you want to get to one final table or some of the final tables, you probably should at least think about facing that mercenaries player in the finals or on the way, because if you go unprepared, then you might have problems. But this is only if you are aiming for the goal, so to say. If you just want to do well in the tournament but not really win, then you should probably look only on the general how many players of each faction there is, and be prepared.
How can you check that?
Them,
do you have
so to say
information? How can you check?
If you are going to,
yeah,
we just spoke about it. If you are going to the tournament in Germany, for
exactly,
example,
this is what I want
they
you
use
to tell.
T3. Yeah, they use a T3 website and tabletop tournaments.net. So if you go to a tournament, you have to register there, and you put also what you are playing faction at least. So each country is using a different platform. Probably some of them don't use any platform. Sometimes you go blind. Like, I don't think that Italy uses any platform, because they only Italian Masters are published on Facebook as a Facebook event.
Yeah, but you can check
seen...
participants on Facebook.
Okay.
And if there's any big name, you know probably
if you are
what
going
they are
to use.
playing.
Okay.
So when I was going to Steamstorm in Slovakia, I checked the contenders on Facebook, and I didn't know anyone except Pat, so I couldn't prepare
so
well.
you were prepared to.
Yeah, but if you are going to UK or Ireland, you should check Tiebreak. Tiebreak CO UK.
Yeah,
because this is where they use all the time. And you put a faction there also when you register.
Yeah. So generally, if you registered, you probably know where to see the people that are coming. So you can make yourself a kind of list of what to be prepared.
If you want to have a real
mostly.
fast shortcut to the important people in the meta, you just go to the discount games and check WTC teams, and you can search the names, and you will have.
I don't know how about that shortcut, but
if you don't know anybody, then you can see who is good and bad by checking WTC, because usually WTC has a good player.
Okay.
This is what I did when I was going to SmokeCon last year. So I know who was playing in England WTC team.
Okay.
That's clever.
Yeah.
So the next step. So the next step on choosing, next step on the preparation for the tournaments is like choosing your pair and creating your lists. And this is probably a topic in itself. Be a separate topic generally, but we can like go just tell about a few approaches that we use. And that are generally
I have a question because
in War Machine.
So
I wanted to ask you both something. Surprise or top dog? If you would have to choose what would you take? Surprise or top dog caster or whatever list?
Yeah, you can do both.
Are you asking me, Rafał? All right, so I think the one list should be maybe not a surprise, but something that you can play when you're really tired, because many tournaments taught me the lesson that fifth or sixth round can be really tiring, and you might be down on clock just because you don't do some steps automatically without even thinking about them. So it can save you a lot of clock, and because of it you might be not down on it. But I would say a surprise list is if you're a top contender and you know that other people are going to take you into account building their pair, one list that you try to not publish anywhere and you can test it in some maybe small meta, so the message won't spread around, is a good thing. I mean, it obviously depends on the list and how good you play with it and how good it is across the meta. But I think surprising everyone is a strong option for choosing your pair.
Yeah, I think there used to be choices so strong. There are still in Kriegs probably, but there used to be choices so strong that it didn't matter that somebody is prepared. Like old Hailey too. It didn't matter that you know how to play against her, or it didn't matter that you have an answer for the Negra and the Pirates. They just killed you anyway. So, but it's getting more and more balanced. So probably if somebody has an answer for your golden bullet, then that answer will be probably working most of the time. So as you say, you can play your tried and true list and have it prepared, but it's probably good to have an off list that is a bit of surprise. It doesn't even have to be a completely new caster. Like a different approach to a list is also valid. Like we had the final Rafał, right, where I chose Maylog, but he had a completely different list from the usual approach with Gators. and this was a surprise for you, and because of that you made some small mistakes, and like I pulled the win
because
out
I
of the
ran
hat.
away my own guy. No, it was not because surprise of the list. I'm sorry that I'm disagreeing with you, because it was because I was stupid. So being stupid usually in War Machine makes you lose the game. So I would say stupidity is easier way than surprising the opponent. So
Okay, so I will only play versus stupid
it's
opponents
good.
from now on. No, but I had many games with that list on Vassal, many like 5 or 6, and generally most of my opponents underestimated it because it's not the usual Gators build, so nobody was prepared for what's coming, and I scored easy wins because of that, so to say. So surprise is a valid tactic.
It looks
for sure.
very casual, probably.
Yeah,
But
it does. I mean,
yeah. So today I built a list that was, I was dojoing a list with a friend in circle, and I came to an idea that sounded really stupid. Like, and the friend told me it won't work, man. Just forget about it. The list is stupid. So I decided, like, let's give it a try. I asked two Tayets to play a game with me, and I won turn 3. So it works. But I think it was one of those cases when the list works only once.
Yeah, and this is the problem that I always face, because I have a lot of lists in my war room, but I'm looking for an optimal one, and it's always coming back to the same similar subject, because even if the people are thinking the different way, there are better and not so better and worse casters, and this is I the more I play, the more I downgrade this element of surprise, unless it's assassination, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the good, because if you are playing against, let's not, maybe not us, but for example, if you are like playing against Pat, do you think that the surprise list would surprise him?
not the list maybe, but some kind of combination of what your abilities do, or some moves that you could do.
I'm not sure either.
Not sure. I mean, yeah, Pat is probably one of the best players in the world. So if you're measuring to versus him, then probably he won't be. It won't be easy to surprise him with
And don't you think?
with anything.
Don't you think giving someone credit that they know everything and they know every step you're going to take and all your stats is not putting you in disadvantage? Because I think sometimes even the best players in the world do mistakes and miss something, some interactions. So I don't think it's a good approach to come to the table and think that you cannot surprise a good player.
You can surprise with the plays, because I started playing, maybe why I'm following this subject and developing. I started playing Slayers, and I don't want to do this, honestly. But the power level of the list and the combinations that it offers, it's sort of, I feel like stupid that I won't be playing, for example, Slayers, right? Because it's
like what combinations
I'm
are you
changing
talking
the
about?
list to suit my playstyle, okay? So
you can switch one siren for some other solo.
No.
Like, what can you do with
surprisingly, you can do quite a lot. People are just copying the same list all over, but you can switch a lot in this list and change the look of the list. It works the same, but in a different way.
You can change the old Slayer for a new scope.
Yeah. Have you lost the Slayers? Because it seems so. I'm feeling so.
No. I never lost it to the list, and I played it 5 times already. So Not no.
Circle OP.
I'm not worried about
You,
the
Marcin,
list.
you see? Okay. So anyway, but I wonder if you take the archetype of the list and then you switch, you tweak it to your own needs. But is it really surprising? Is it the same? Or I think that, yeah, maybe we are going out of the topic, but
Yeah.
I'm always thinking if you are preparing, I tried many times to surprise people, and it seems that maybe it's not. I think that it depends on the person. I hate surprises.
Right?
I personally hate surprises. Like
Okay.
hell. So that's why maybe I don't like
Okay.
this.
I have to bring it a bit back on topic. So back on choosing a pair. So you have many archetypes of lists. Like generalist list is probably the first one. This is the list that should cover like 80% of the field or 70% of the field, and this is the list you will be playing most often. So you should be most skilled in it and have most reps with it. Then you can have that generalist and pair it with like a problem solver. Like if your generalist is good against everything except like cricks, then probably your second list should deal with the cricks. And those archetypes go on, like you can have an anti-shooting list or anti-infantry list, and you can have a list that asks questions, or of course a problem solver is kind of that answers those questions. So with that in mind, you don't also you're like you don't have to have a generalist list. You might have like two lists that ask questions, for example. Like you can have a kind of slayers with heavies, or like 9 or 10 heavies that will ask question, can you deal with my heavies? And then the second list, like 50 or 60 infantry, that will ask a question, can you deal with the infantry? So with those two questions, your opponent will probably will have to drop a list that can deal with both, or we'll have a list chicken with something that can deal with one.
Yeah, I feel like the generalist approach and the two question list generally can put you in a spot where you just list chicken, because if you're, like you said, one list is focused on the cricks and the other is focused on the other stuff, but we should keep in mind that cricks is a big faction, right? So there might be only one good answer to it. Like your off list might answer only one of your opponents, and then you have a situation of list chicken. So I think I would add my approach, and I'm trying to make two generalist lists, and let's say they both should cover around, let's say, 60%. Like, hard to measure, but and if the lists are in some cases similar, like you might choose two combined arms or two battle group heavy or two infantry lists, then you might avoid this chicken, and your opponent might have you have a easier list choice, because you know what your opponent is going to choose, because only one of his lists can answer, let's say, a lot of infantry, and both of your lists are heavy into infantry. So now you know his answer, and you can just tweak yours to match his better, and that puts you in a better spot.
Yeah, I mean, one thing doesn't exclude the other. So, I mean, the generalist list can also ask a question. Like, I find Maylog with Pose is a generalist list because it can probably fight 70% or more of the field, but it also asks a question, can you deal with that much armor and that much boxes? Right, so you can have easily two generalist lists that also ask different questions. And for example, like let's say your Una list, right? It's a generalist list with a lot of flying war beasts that also ask a question: can you deal with high armor?
Yeah, usually
high
those,
defense.
I would say spam lists are those question askers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
Or
so
something specific like cloud wall, I don't know, incorporeal spam or something like that.
Yeah.
But still, it's a spam.
so there are like, I hope we helped you a bit with that. But then when you choose a pair, you can also go choose a pair based on net listing. We'll go back to the dojo about in a second, but because you already mentioned that you can net list, take Slayer's list, and you can base your list on internet. There is no shame in that. I often test lists of somebody else to see how it works and what it brings, etc. And just because somebody thought about something else, it doesn't mean you cannot try it. So there's a valid thing to do. And also with netlist, you can also see some videos
if you are
on YouTube.
If you are net listing, you are saving your own time. This is also
somebody else done some homework for you and try that list and probably won something because you wouldn't net list a list probably that didn't want an event. So this is for people who don't have a lot of time. Then this is probably a good solution. But so you have chosen somehow your pair either through your own tries or net listing. And then you want to change something or test it before you can play or between games. And then there were a dojo comes in, and I don't mean the paid dojo by Chain Attack, but a dojo with your friends or with your group or with your opponent after the game.
Yeah, I feel also during the game is a valid option. Is if it's not in a tournament, you can just give some advices during the game, like don't put your caster here because I will go for an assassination, or it will be tempting, and the game will be over, and we won't see how it end up if we go to the 7 rounds full game.
Yeah, exactly. So you can dojo your game. I mean, I usually try to ask my opponent at least after the game, what have I done wrong, or what he done wrong, or what could be how would it run differently if we done something else, because that gives you so much more from the game that you think about a different angle as well.
Yeah, if and your opponent is giving you good advices. Yeah, I was listening recently to Line of Sight podcast when Brett Fogel was saying he had an opponent, the Negra Free, and after the game, he won the game, said like you should put the unit in next time, not ambush or ambush, I don't remember what was the...
And it didn't work.
Yeah, they played another game the day 2 because it was top cut. And he did took his advice, and it was even worse. So yeah, I've been in this situation a lot, that I gave someone some advices, but when I knew what he's going to do, I could prepare for it, and it was even worse. So
yeah, I mean, of course, it's not always the advice that somebody else gives you. It's not always the best one, but like if you have for example, I'm in a dojo group with minions and with Signar, so if there is a group thinking about some solution and there are some ideas thrown in, and then somebody might throw an idea that you didn't think of, or explain why they think this solo is better in this build than the other one. And then have points that maybe convince you to switch out the solo that make your list better. And sometimes it will make your list better in one matchup, but will make the list worse in the other matchup. So there is probably no one right answer, but you should think about it while adjusting your list as well, and
I think that
really helps. Yeah.
I think that brainstorming is a good way. Always listening to the advices is not such good way.
No. I mean, don't be the guy that always changes your list because somebody told you so. But we Rafał talk constantly after the game, right? And evaluate.
We do.
Was it just blind luck, or was it just that list that's strong and you can go do whatever and you will lose anyway. Like without that evaluation, you are not going forward, so to say, right?
Yeah, but I because I have switched my lists due to the some insight of the other person, but it seems that sometimes you have to make your own decision, or maybe something like that. Okay, at the end, I think this is for me, but this is again think of the personal sort of way of thinking and things like that. And so generally, it's very good to brainstorm. And if you learn from the advices of the others, then it's okay. But sometimes you just don't, and then you have to to tweak the list by yourself at the end and do it in such a way.
Yeah. All right. So at that point, you have chosen your lists. You know more or less the event what is going to happen. So what I do at that point, before even playing or after playing a few games, I will start going through the list of most popular casters in each faction and taking a look at my list and thinking, can that list deal with that, or one of my lists deal with that or not? If the answer is mostly yes, like if I can, out of like just looking at that list and ticking off the box for each of the casters, if I have at least like 50% or game or something similar, then I'm, let's say, putting that pair on green light and going on to the test games.
So you do that when your lists are ready, right?
Yeah, I do that when my lists are like the first draft, or so to say, kind of. It's not the 100% ready list for tournament. It's like the raw draft lists before tweaking, before test games. I go over a list of casters or at least factions, if that pair can handle this.
Yeah, sure. Because my approach is a bit different. I make 4 or 5 lists. I write down what's currently in the meta, like Haley 3 in Gravediggers or Scar 1 in Dark Host. Like make sure that I can build a pair that can cover well most of those matchups, and then I tweak my list. Like let's say I want to put some problem solver solo, and every faction has access now to it. You have one spot for a solo and for a unit from minions or mercenaries. And then I write down to which of those matchups I need which of the solos. And then I try to make a place for the solo for one of the lists I have. So let's say one of my lists is a gun line, and then I want to have an answer to a cloud wall. So then I put how many of those lists I'm dodging and need a mist speaker, for example, to have an eyeless sight and to see through clouds, and what other solos I need, and if they will match any of my other lists. So it's like building around the matchups in the meta, and around the answers I have access to from mercenaries or minions.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes do it as elaborately as you, meaning I choose like 5 casters or 5 lists, Sometimes I do it just with 2. It will probably depend largely on the event I'm going to. Like if I'm going for ClockCon, then I'm probably prepared with 5 or 4 or 5 casters, and I will do that for all of them. But if I'm going like for a Masters or definitely if I'm going for a local event, I will not do it for more than 2. If I'm going to a Masters, I might to do it for 3 or maybe 2 that I'm most comfortable with. So it will depend, but definitely I think everybody should go through that list and so to say dry tweak the list, and then we go to the test games, right?
Yeah.
Then we throw the mat on the wall and see if that actually sticks or not. So what do test games give you? They obviously you will see if the things you thought about or the things you saw, do they work as you suspected or as they work for everybody else? So after a few games you will see and feel if the interactions are good, or do you have to, like, the order of activation, is it too complicated, or maybe it doesn't work because the order of activation doesn't allow you to. Like, for example, I played recently Barnabas 2, and very often he has to activate as a first one. So to get the minus to armor to the places you want to. So if you put too much stuff in front of him, he will be a bit sad because he cannot move. So this thing, I'm just like 2 or 3 games in, and this you have to try it out, and you for sure have to know your models and rules, and this reading it, unless you are a prodigy or a very 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 good mind in remembering stuff, I think you will learn best when you're playing, and read your cards often when you play, because sometimes you, while reading before the game, you just skip some rules or forget, and like it happened to me. I was playing with Dahlia and a snake like maybe 10 times before I saw that her bond gives her additional die versus everything, and I was sure it was only versus leaving. So I played like 10 games cheating myself and not giving me additional die versus everything else. So those things like come up during the test games.
Yeah, like there are so many fits in the game that you need to set up for them a turn before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
hard to set up before.
Bredigus is an example of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you don't set up well for your fit turn, you'll be just screwed, and he needs reps to do it properly.
Yeah. Also, you will probably have your, during the test games, you will find out how complicated is the caster, and how many tokens you will have to support your list. I have prepared like 3 examples of from my point of view. Like, I have a Rask list that is burning my brain each time I'm playing it, and it has like 30 tokens ready for everything Rask and his supporting warlocks lessers can do, and this 30 tokens is just from effects. It doesn't count in fury and continuous effects, etc. So that's all additional. And for example, Maylog list had like 15 tokens, and to counter that, I played versus Scar 1 in Berlin Masters in finals, and I'm pulling out all my 30 Rask tokens, sorting them out, putting on the side of the table so I don't waste time to sort them out. And my opponent from
Dark
Scar
guidance.
1 he's looking at me, and I will be only casting 1 spell this game, so I only have 1 token actually. And I was just, you bastard. Yeah. So this is the kind of kind of preparation you probably have to have if you go into a complicated list that requires a lot of interactions and a lot of action, then preparing yourself a set of tokens will probably help you a lot. Sometimes maybe remind you that you have that spell and can cast it. So it happened to me on occasion. So what are you guys taking out of the test games?
Tomasz?
I don't know. Like usually, it's like with Bradigos, like we said. The test games were only for to maybe you know how to set up for the fit turn well, and usually I think about matchups and how the list is going to do into them. So the test games just help me to do my stuff quickly, to know how to unpack my army, to know some distances between models that need to be in, like if you have a veteran leader or other aura, so you know how far you can spread out or how you should break up and stuff like this. So this is what I take out from test games. I don't really test in my lists into some meta answers I want to answer, because if I see the list, my list and opponent list, I probably can see how it's going to do into it. I'm really surprised.
And because I'm a master of theory machine,
Yeah.
I I usually am either surprised, good way or bad way. I need to test. If I assume my list is answering something, then I actually have to play it because I I'm either too positive or too negative on the how it goes. So I unfortunately don't see the outcome before it begins.
I usually test my list, if I may finish this part of the topic, to learn to play, honestly. And the more I think about
to learn
that,
the playlist, right?
yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter who I'm playing against. And this is, again, something I think personal. I want to learn my list the best that it's possible and play it sort of like automatically. And then then you are asking the question to the opponent if his answer is really that good, that if you know your list very well, can you beat it or not? This is my sense.
That's the same approach for me. Just one thing, I never put my test game from with a list that I would never drop it into something. So if my opponent have
yeah, we are not wasting time, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. So after a few test games, or maybe a lot of test games, there is time you can start tweaking, or you don't have to, but you can tweak your lists. You can switch out solos, units, or warbies, whatever you think, but don't do it too much at once, because then it defeats the let's say idea of testing. Unless you play it once and it's really bad, you don't want it, then switch the list. But well, try at least like total of at least 10 games, so to say, or 5 games, and tweak a little each time. I have prepared few examples that how I tweaked my list, and I usually do it with my solos, or sometimes I switch some warbies. For example, I didn't use Quack too much, because I was sure that everybody has a way around and living, like blocking my stuff, and so it cannot get out, or other way knock it down, but or just simply ignore the warbies. But when I started playing him, he was actually pretty good, and actually Enliven makes a lot of problems to my opponents, because they have to, like, this is another thing they have to have a solution for. So at least from that point, and putting it on a Warbeast that cannot be knocked down will solve one issue. And so this is an example. I didn't want to play Quark. I tried him, and he stayed in my list. But on the other hand, with Barnabas too, I started using Quark, and I feel like he is not really needed because you are relying on your high defense that your opponent will not hit you, and using Enliven to escape after a hit will only lower or higher the chance of your opponent hitting you. So I don't know. I'm not sold on Quark in Barnabas too, so now I will test my game without him. Like this is one of the examples. The other example I want to bring up is, for example, Maylock is very often with Pose is used with 2 witch dogs, because then each witch doctor is on each side and they give +1 inch of movement to the whole army. But actually I played with only 1 witch doctor, and then he's more or less in the middle of the army. Then some of the guys are outside of that additional inch of movement, but this is a good trade because you can use that spot for another useful support solo, and later in the game when the lines clash it doesn't really matter. So these are my probably examples how I was tweaking my list.
Yeah, so this is the step I take before. So because my example would be Wormwood. If I want to answer Cloud Wall, let's say, and I put into most of the meta problems with Cloud Walls, I put Wormwood as an answer. It's not really an answer for me because Wormwood, in my opinion, needs an Eilish, because we often rely on a single roll, which is Hellmouth, which is a very strong spell. And if you roll double 1, it can mess your turn up, right? So I feel like this Puppet Master is really important in the list. So now you cannot answer Cloud Wall except if you put Linus and Andrea, and then you put your list into another disadvantage. If it's Bones of Ouroboros, now you have no access to souls, which Wormwood needs to put those Hellmouths on the table. So this is the situation when I cannot make the most out of my list, because the matchups I put it that it will be good, it won't be anymore, because I cannot put eyeless side, let's say, for those Cloud Walls to my list. So this is the step I take when I build my list.
So we are coming back to the question that you asked at the beginning, right?
What?
Yeah, but for example, but don't you never after a few games don't you never change your stuff in the list? Don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Tweaking. You can of course tweak before, during the list building, or just after going through the factions. But the Eilish example is a nice one because I also. Eilish is giving Puppet Master, and so does the pot, the new pot from
Minions, yeah.
Minions, the Cauldron. And that reroll from Puppet Master is needed for Maylock for his Soul Slave, so he can put mortality on something. And at the beginning I started with Eilish, but then I switched to the pot because the pot can also pull stuff, and Maylock has often trouble with his threat ranges, and that can help him with this. I don't know if I will leave it at this, because the pulls has also limits with the distances and everything, because the list is pretty fast and the pot has trouble keeping up. So I will test it further and see what will stay. So
yeah, but it's more survivable than Eilish.
It is. That's true.
Yeah, but Eilish can survive quite a lot because he has defensive tests. So yeah,
and a small base.
But I don't like 5 points. I don't like to spend 5 points on something that may not have to be used often. So It seems that when I build my lists, I I try to make a combo of two lists, and I'm tweaking one to get a better combination of two. So this is what happens usually lately, at least. And I have a problem because I want to try something new and something interesting, but efficiency for me is the most important thing. And this is something that I may have to stop playing, for example, Crix or something like that, because certain customers have higher efficiency than the others, and I don't like to play inefficient things. So
but
yeah,
Crix is efficient, so
yeah, but in reality, if you are, let's say, if you are having a chocolate, and you can have chocolate is not a good example. If you have a diamond and you have a sapphire, why take sapphire if you have a diamond?
Yeah, so it's changed after you used your Blood Gorgers list on latest masters, or
No, yeah, the blood gorgers are a good example. I like the list a lot. It's my idea. It works. The different lists work more efficient. And now, this is the big question for me, and this is my problem lately with Crix, and that's there are a lot of good things, but as I said, I like efficiency most. So I'm constraining myself with list building lately.
yeah, it's the same in let's say Signar. Nemo free and Halley free just outshine other choices,
everyone
right?
else. Yeah, but I think Kraya is very close to the top, and I think he can be played very efficiently. So there is a different. I don't have that problem in minions because I like playing all the minion casters. So
yeah, but the thing is, yeah, you do, and that's right. That it has been changed. You have changed because we both started the same, and I saw your, let's say, development as a player. And when we were playing Signal, you had your choices, and in minions you switch a lot compared to Signal, a lot, like 5 times more than you usually played in Signal. But still, when we talk about the list and when we talk about the tweaking, it's always a question: is science importance worth it?
you mean right? You mean from the Jaga Jaga or what?
Yeah. So is it really? I mean, is there anything better in the game than science importance? So this is the problem, right? And we encountered that already several times. That okay, I want to have this list and this list, but then I remind myself, okay, I have something that is fit level. I get it every turn, and I've got different toolbox besides.
God
Why
damn it,
shouldn't
man.
I play that?
I just started playing Barnabas 2. Why are you making me play Jaga Jaga again? I want to play Jaga Jaga now.
But come on, this is the problem, and this is why I think that people switch factions. I mean, the best players why switch factions, and maybe this is just a personal. I don't know, but we played already Barnabas 2, and we played already Jaga Jaga, and I mean, if you have a spell fit level, it's like their guidance, okay? It's answers. If you remove something from the equation, this is like, the best possible outcome in mathematical study or whatever. So, and the science importance is the same. So that's the problem for me lately when I'm tweaking my list, okay? Yeah. I want to tweak something, but I'm becoming inefficient.
The temptation is too strong, right? From those strong things.
Yeah.
Minions,
this is really
minions are lucky with very powerful spells on their casters. It's like Maylog has Death Pact, which is maybe not the fit level, but it's almost a fit level because all your warriors become undead and +2 armor. So some casters have similar feats, so to say. Then there is Silent Portents, which is also a very powerful spell. So
yeah, I'm happy I don't have the same problem in Circle because there's no such strong fit or such strong spell inside the faction.
Yeah, Yeah, and there are factions like
Synergy
this.
is a weak spell, I know.
And maybe Helmov on Wormwood is one of those.
Hamon, Synergy, these are very powerful spells.
I think that if I look at the circle as a whole, I think that Wormwood is the best caster.
Yeah.
And this is sort of Haley free caster level. And
Stop at this point. Nobody should play Wormwood ever.
Yeah, I think it is. I've played some games with it recently, and I'm really surprised that no one uses it, or it's really very rarely on the table. I feel like they were.
Tomasz, cut it out of the podcast, please. Don't give people ideas. Don't give people ideas. You should keep on playing your Unas too, and whatever you're playing. Just don't play your Wormwood. I hate that tree so much. All right, but we went a bit off topic. I've got like bonus points, so to say. I saw a post. I think, Tomasz, it was under one of your tournament reports, or you mentioned something about tournaments, and somebody asked you why, or what's your secret? Why do you win?
Oh man, I wanted to bring the same thing to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I made that point. The last point of the podcast, because this is probably connected to the preparation as a whole, etc.
Do you want me to read the message?
If you have it, you can read it.
Yeah, it will take me like 3 minutes to find it. No, not 3 minutes, a minute, or maybe even less. And it was really surprising because it was hard to answer, but I mean, people struggle.
Yeah, so you search and I will talk, which is unusual for me.
Not really. Today you are talking a lot, Marcin.
Yeah, I'm talking a lot. I try to bring that podcast forward, So, continuing, not everyone. Okay.
Yeah, so
I didn't even manage to say anything.
Sorry, man. So Joshua wrote, "Why are you winning? Is it because you are the best player locally? Is it the mind games? Are people simply taking for other factions? List chicken? Obviously, you won a lot of events, and people want to know what you're playing, more or less barreling small changes. Do you think that Circle are secret masters that require a very high level of play to unlock? What do you think could be holding other high-level players back from playing Circle or rating them highly? It's not that I'm salty and blah blah blah." So that was the question.
Yeah.
So how do you win?
Yeah, my answer to it was like, I have no idea. Like the universal rule is the more you put in, the more you get out.
Get out.
Yeah. And
I mean, I will answer a few of those points if I remember correctly. For sure, you are a very good player, because otherwise you wouldn't be winning. It's not a luck thing, because you do it consistently. You won, and it's not that you are the best player locally because you won international event or placed well in international events and won masters, etc., all over Poland. So it's not a local thing, so to say. But
the next question was, is it the mind games?
Yeah, maybe.
No,
sometimes.
Because it doesn't work on everybody.
No,
it's never a mind game.
Mind game is not something you can bring to make your wins consistent. So maybe sometimes you can trick somebody in choosing the wrong list, but usually I think I haven't encountered much mind games in War Machine.
I think that mind game, you can mind game in your states, or you can mind game if you are Pat Dunford. Because I think you are the only person that is well known. Maybe some German players also, maybe, but then you can use it as a tool. But besides, I don't think that nobody no, I mean, no offense, Tomasz, but nobody remembers, if you are going to Steam Storm, you are the Tomasz Mucha that won some tournaments in Poland. It doesn't really matter, I think. So I think that it's combination of everything. You have to play a mind game with an opponent that is weak to that. You have some luck, and then you have to be prepared. So you have to have everything.
I mean, the one thing that you said, guys, at the beginning is like more you put in, the more you get out. On many levels, this is the truth. So I put together a few questions. So because each of us plays a lot, and we placed well in many events and won some masters as well. So I want to show the overview. How much does it cost, so to say, to be on top of War Machine? Not even to be the best of the best, but just to stay on the top, to know what is going on and what you can expect and what you can play, and etc. etc. So, how many games do you guys play on average? I don't know. Do you count your games or not?
Yeah, after our first podcast, I started counting my games from the first first day of the year, and today was my 18th game, and it's 107th day of the year, so it gives me 5.7 games a week.
Okay. So I play more or less 4 games a week, 4 and something. So this is definitely below what I would like to, but I think I'm not able to play anymore. So, Rafał?
Oh, I'm just playing 1 or 2.
Okay. Now
so you are the raw talent.
Yeah, no. Let's continue on with the questions.
He's the Crix, right?
Playing games is one point, but the other point, how much do you dojo?
So I feel like 40
all the time,
24 hours a day.
I mean, I get a feeling whenever I have a free while, I just open my war room and take a look at my options. So I dojo a lot. So build lists, think about the matchups, etc. So the next.
Do you know the feeling when you wake up and you need to finish your dream? Like you're already woke up, but you have your dream in mind and you need to finish it, right? You know the feeling. So have you ever had that you had to finish the game that you had in your dream?
Well, I didn't come to that I had
it happened to me a few times.
A dream about a game. No, but that's nice.
No,
so you're really 24 hours a game. So even in sleep you are playing. That's incredible.
I feel so sometimes.
I don't think I can beat that.
It's different approach. I think that I dojo some, but I like to gather information, and I think that I know quite a lot about all the different factions that are played, and this is my way.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Actually, the next question is connected to the first one because it's how much time do you spend about the matchups, different matchups, and I also spend a lot. If I had a game I lost and I felt I could have won, it won't give me a easy time. I will be continually going back to that game and thinking how would I have won it.
Oh yeah.
So there is that. So actually, sometimes losing a game is more beneficial in that aspect. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, so I was very lucky in this point because after winning some tournaments and posting it on Circle Facebook group, Circle Facebook group is really salty about the faction. So many people came to me asking questions like, how do you win? And it oftentimes I cannot give a straight answer, but we start chatting, and many people use some lists that I've been using, or my lists, or I was using their lists. So we chat about the matchups, and if I cannot figure out how the matchup will work, I can ask those people that used my list and ask, did you play into, let's say, Rushet, and have an answer, how did the game went, and etc. So I have a group that plays the same list I do, so it helps me figuring the
Yeah.
matchups.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a hive mind.
I have to make people play my lists for me, and I will just and then make videos so I can watch it and make probably shortcut. Anyway, when we are talking about the videos, how much do you time spend watching videos of the games?
Too much.
Because I probably spent 2 hours a day watching videos.
Okay.
Maybe except even on weekends, because I work out a lot. So every workout I have at home on a trainer, I watch a game, and also sometimes at work when I don't have too much to do and I don't play on Vassal. So then
Okay.
there's
No,
that.
Okay.
So I wanted just to put some points to show, so to say, to the listeners that how much commitment is taking to consistently win games or win events or prepare to a specific event, because if you are aiming at be placing well in a tournament or winning the event, you'll probably have to put in a similar amount of time. And so I would easily judge that my weekly commitment to a war machine averages around probably 30 to 40 hours total. So it's more or less as much as a work week.
Yeah.
Easily,
I feel the
right?
same. Like I work a lot less than I did before I was playing War Machine, and most of my day is actually thinking, playing, or dodging War Machine. So it's a lot, like too much.
So
I don't
let's
think
hope
it's even
we will
healthy.
not. Yeah, I think at some point we'll bring up the topic that I was working on, burnout, and actually so much I wouldn't advise to people, to every person, so much commitment to War Machine, because it can easily burn you out, and then you will have no longer any fun from what you're doing. I really admire guys like Pat Danforth, or all the big names, JVM, etc., because they are also playing a lot, but for a very long time as well, for many years, consistently. So this requires a special kind of mindset, I think, to not to get burned out and not to just say, actually, I don't want to play that anymore. So
Yeah, if you want to continue playing the game, right?
sometimes, sometimes I very sorry, Rafał, that I interrupted. After a big event that I prepared a lot, I usually take a week or two off completely. I mean, a week at least. It's the same what I'm doing in my triathlon. I'm preparing for a triathlon for almost a year. For like my preparation time is like 10 months for in general. So 10 months I'm training intensively. But after each event, I'm taking almost a week off. So I don't do so much. So I don't get bored and really bogged down. So I don't drop the hobby that I actually love, like War Machine as well.
Oh. No, I don't think that's because I'm totally different than both of you. So I don't watch videos. I don't like that because it's maybe the finals or sometimes, but they usually doesn't matter. it seems that people are just making mistakes, and the one that made less mistakes wins. Usually, I
Yeah,
think.
that's the game. But
yeah,
it's better to learn from somebody's mistakes than your own.
Yeah, but it's really hard to repeat something at the final game after 10 hours of playing. So, yeah. But the thing is that when you talked about Danford and JEM, I think that one thing that is in common in both of them, they don't have a lot of things about War Machine in their feed of Facebook or whatever. Have you noticed that? They are playing for themselves, not for everybody else.
Yeah, Pat has.
That has a lot.
Yeah, Pat has now actually podcast, right? So.
Yeah, but it's different. This is, there are a lot of people chit chatting on the groups and things like that, and I noticed that they are, often there. But do you see a lot of Pat somewhere?
No, I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
On that note, we can wrap up, I think, because we went to the end, so to say, of that tournament preparation. I hope you can. It will help some of you guys to prepare for your next event and make it plays very well.
And buy a bottle of water before the event. That's your most important preparation.
Yeah, this is something that we agree all three of us.
And something to eat. Probably not a lot of carbs, nuts, apple. That are the things that are much better in to have.
Isn't apple a carb?
It is, but it doesn't make your insulin to jump. It has
it's a low glycemic
index. Yeah, exactly. So an apple is better than banana, and banana is better than your average Snickers.
No.
So on that note, we can finish.
Yeah, well, thank you for listening to another episode of Different Podcast.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.